Round of shots here on this Sunday night, December 5th, 2021. Brother Max, it's me and you tonight. James, Justin, the night off. What's up with you, Maximus?
I think I just need to be referred as a steady Eddie. I may not be as good as Kevin. I may not be as electric as Justin Jeffries, but you know what? I show up every single time.
You do. You give me the warm fuzzies. It's good to always see you.
Thank you.
At least I got
Thank you.
It's kind of our thing, right?
It is quite a highlight. It's definitely top 3 highlights of my Sunday.
Is it?
It is
top 3. So church,
top 3. Yep.
Church. Lunch, dinner with the wife, family.
Yeah, probably our walk. We take a very nice Sunday walk, Sunday stroll on Sundays. That's our extra long exercise day on Sundays, and then after that, then it's
I'm your nightcap, right?
Yeah, it's a very figuratively.
I'm the last
literally.
voice. I am the last voice you hear before you go to bed. Is that what you're
actually? Yes, you are, because my wife's already in bed.
There's something to be said about that, Max. I'll hold you near and dear. It's always good to see you. Chance to talk some UK sports tonight. Without further ado, let's just do this. I mean, these two of my favorite ladies to talk to when it comes to sports. You know, Annice McEwan, Anna Tarullo, and you're in Lexington, right?
Sure am.
Annice,
I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, it's good to see you. Annice, you're in Tennessee. Is that song,
cool.
Tennessee?
Mm-hmm.
Tennessee. What's been up? I'm say I haven't probably talked or seen you all in a little bit, but everybody have a good Thanksgiving. Family.
Oh, heck yeah. Kevin, I love the intro to this show because that's what I imagine the transfer portal to be like. It's like 3, 2, 1, and it's all this stuff. I feel like that's how I imagine it.
It's a cheesy intro that took me about 20 minutes to do, but it gives me time to.
I think it's the transfer portal.
Share stuff. Yeah. We got to talk that.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of stuff to talk about, even though our Cats didn't play, Max. I could start with you, Max Godby, former UK player, Book of Boba Fett player. Our Cats. Before we get into the bowl game, this was a week right after that. I think Levis probably is still crossing the Cardinal Stadium goal line these days. But the fallout from that butt kicking, 52-21. Stoops contract, coaching carousels. His names come up, and we did the show last week. Somebody made some comment, and it sounded like it initially was in jest. But the more I thought about it, I'm like, we're kind of on to it. Can we give Stoops a lifetime contract? Somebody said that last week. Was it you?
That was me.
I've got something for you. Technically, I think he already does. If you look at it, all he has to do is win. I say all. He wins 7 games. He gets a year added to the contract. He wins 10 games. He gets 2 years. Rinse and repeat. All he has to do, I say again, then technically that contract would be a lifetime, right?
It 100% is, and that's just, and like it or don't like it, that's really how Mitch Barnhart kind of does these contracts when it comes to basketball and football. He believes a lot of it is a trust between the coach and the athletic department of we're invested together on this. And I love the whole aspect of this. I love that his name was coming up for Oklahoma, LSU, once Brian Kelly left, Notre Dame. All this, and Stoops was really keeping it close to the chest, close to the vest. But then come to find out, him and Barnhart had already came up with an agreement before the Louisville game and just did not let anyone know. And it speaks to the type of leader Coach Stoops is when you look at what he was fighting for. Stoops was not fighting for more money for himself. He was fighting for more money for his guys, for his coordinators, for Morrow, and to get the facilities. And I think that's
that track, right?
It's well, and honestly, that's a huge thing, and especially if you're willing to invest $120 million in a brand new facility, and then that Nutter Fieldhouse is very obsolete, very old, and I remember practicing in it. I mean, when it rained, I would weep because I know I was about ready to go into a 130-degree hothouse and wearing athletic pants that aren't supposed to retain water. They were retaining water. That's how hot it was inside this thing. And so the ability to get upgrades for that or just build a whole new one, I don't know what they're going to do with it. But the maturity of both Stoops and Barnhart in this conversation to realize, okay, this is what we need to do to get UK to the next level. And having that mono conversation, no bull, anything like that, straight to the point, you've now been able to write up a very good contract and one that is rightfully deserving of Coach Stoops. It was like what I said last week. Is Kentucky the best job in college football if Stoops were to leave? It's probably a very good stepping point for someone if they were wanting to get to a 5-star prestigious program like a Michigan, a Alabama, one of those jobs. But Coach Stoops is the best person that you've got available right now, and he's one that's continued to make it a better job. So why not keep him here as much as humanly possible? Especially now that you've given him all this time, continue to let him to grow roots, continue to let him build this program the way he's wanting, and turn it into a job that may one day be a 4-star when it comes to prestigious level.
And following the Louisville game, what was the kind of the narrative from your perspective? Because you're median too. On Stoops, what was your thinking? Were you aware of the concert or the conversation with Mitch? And if you can't say, you can wink or whatever. But
no, not at all. And I loved when they were talking about it kind of after it went on. They were like, Mark Stoops was like, it was a simple conversation. It was a really simple thing that we did. And I'm like, that could not be more on brand with both of those individuals. Just, no outlandish things, not a big like manipulation scheming trying to get things. I completely agree with Matt. It was getting money for his assistants. And he's been talking about that, about Nutter and then having to practice anytime there's bad weather. He doesn't even have a full football field. So I knew that was going to be part of it. I honestly didn't get a feeling that he was looking to leave. But then when the Lincoln Riley to Oklahoma or to USC and the Brian Kelly to LSU, I was like, oh my God, if these guys are leaving programs like this, what kind of money are other places offering Stoops? But I think it says a lot about him that he wants to stay. And he said it in the past too. It's been like, I think a couple of years ago, he was like, you know what, the grass isn't always greener. You go somewhere else. I think he's taken
or bluer.
It's taken him a really long time to really get it going. And this year was just a game-changing year. Finally, really, really knocking at the door in that SEC. So I, maybe for like one day, I was like, oh my God, is he going to go? But I didn't really think so. And we didn't hear anything about it. But I think that says a lot about Mitch Barnhart and Mark Stoops. But one of the other things I was at SEC Media Days this summer, and I may have mentioned this when I came on before, but the level of other coaches like Dan Mullen, there was almost jealousy in his voice when he was talking about the relationship between Mitch Barnhart and Mark Stoops. And Max, I think exactly what you said. There's a trust there. And I love how Mitch works. He gives time for programs to build, to grow, and then he's kind of a hands-off guy. So I think Mark Stoops is definitely want to appreciate that too.
Nisi, you're kind of on the outside looking in, but you're still looking. What was your take on Kentucky as a whole this season?
I was glad to see the strides they made offensively because obviously that was a big question mark, and they've had a couple of weird seasons personnel-wise when I was covering them. And coming from a Big 12 background, I'm always more inclined to see some more passing and things like that. So
I'm going to keep a ticker. That's one time you talked about Coach O, but go ahead.
I'll tell you what, I watched a lot more Big 12 football than I have in quite a few years. So, yeah, there was huge strides, I think, offensively, which is really, when everyone's got a pretty solid defense, in my opinion, in SEC, top part of that conference. I think when you can have a standout offense that can score quite a bit and can score quickly, that's really in my opinion, the difference maker. So they were fun to watch. They really were, and I found myself a lot of times watching them over the other team I used to cover.
Who could that be?
We'll take it. Take it. One more set of eyes. We've alluded to, Stoops, this contract, which I'm sure there's money involved, an increase in salary, which, after the recent hirings, Kelly, Riley, the Michigan State coach his name is, but anyways, those guys are at the 9-10 million mark. And then you got Saban, who's I think I don't even know if
8.6 million. He's not. Brian Kelly's the number one paying coach now.
Well, that's obviously got to change. Yeah. But where I'm going at is that the salary range now is crazy enough where you could see Saban making 12, 15 a year, which is then the median becomes in that 6, 7 range. And that's probably where a guy like Stoops should fall.
Yeah. This is what I think on it. I feel like
not that his accountant is listening to me.
No, but I think it's like what I talked about. I talked about this on the post-game show, which is 97.3 FM WVOK, comes on immediately after the UK football games.
That's one ticker
talk
for
about
Max too, by the way.
Yes, there we go. I've got 3 more. I've got to 3 more. I got to hit. But I was talking about this with Larry Glover after the game because one of the callers called in and asked about it. I think you see that college coaching's turned into two different type of people, and all have incredibly high football IQs. But there are the guys that I would call the Coach Stoops, the John Summeralls, the Neil Browns, the Mike Leaches, guys that do this because they are a football through and through. That's all they know. It's either the betterment of the student athletes, developing young men to become productive young men who become great fathers, great husbands, great employees, great citizens of the United States and America. That's the reason why they get into this business. Or it's to be really, really good at a football IQ level and turn into an expert into this game. Or it's because of status. It's because of the brand. It's because of the lifestyle that this life can bring you, which is a very elaborate lifestyle. I've gotten to see it firsthand. It brings you a lot. It can bring you a lot of happiness, to say the least. And I see that as the Brian Kellys, the Lincoln Rileys, the Dan Mullins of the world, these Lane Kiffin. These are the guys that love the idea of being a college football coach because of the status. It's an opportunity for them to separate their name from the university when it comes to their brand. No knock on him, but John Calipari is very similar. He's kind of the revolutionary of it. I've never seen a coach at that time that was able to develop a brand just for him away from his school. And he's an expert at it. And that's more of at the basketball level. But that's why people balked at Coach Stoops at LSU. LSU fans were, because he didn't have a brand. His brand's a blue-collar guy who runs the ball a lot and is a very good defensive-minded guy. But there's no pizzazz to him.
Not now even the name, the Stoops name.
Bob's the exact same way. Bob has no real pizzazz about him. I mean, I love Bob Stoops to death. He's been to our practices. Great guy. But have you watched him on Fox Sports? I mean, he's having to sit next to Charles Woodson, who brings a level of energy that he just can't match. And here's Bob Stoops basically sounding like a country Mark Stoops going, yeah, I think both teams are going to play very well today. And that's all he's got.
Is that how those Oklahoma pressers were?
Basically, yes. It's the weirdest thing. You had Bob Stoops walking around another facility one time, and you had Coach Stoops going, Bob, this is Max Godby. And Bob Stoops going, how you doing? It's like, oh my goodness, they sound identical. It's like a weird weird alternate reality. It's basically what Brian Kelly wants to sound like, with him and his family.
Oh my God.
Did you hear
horrible.
But all that to say, I think for Coach Stoops, I think a guy like Nick Saban, it's not about the money. And where Brian Kelly's willing to leave Notre Dame and go through the buzzsaw of the SEC West for $100 million, a home loan paid off for him, $1.2 million house loan, 2 cars, six-figure bonus, which is the first college football coach to ever get 6-figure bonuses. And what else was it? Oh, and his contract gets extended every single year as well if he wins 12 games. And if they fire him for no reason, they have to pay all the money. All the money.
Oh my God.
Hey, and those contracts too. I mean, all of them are what, like over $100 million contract. The values on. Well, you mentioned something too. I'm gonna ask Nisi this, and Anna, you jumped in. Somebody like Lincoln Riley going to USC. Is that an upgrade? Other than getting to rub shoulders with someone on the Walk of Fame or some Hollywood strip, I don't know. I don't see USC as that school right now. Lisa.
No, from a purely football standpoint, and I mean that
it's a status thing.
Well,
go ahead.
If you weren't born and raised in the South or in the Midwest, you will always have a certain level of
I don't you're from the West.
I'm from the West Coast.
Yeah,
It is a little bit ahead. I'll put it that way. There's not, this isn't a knock against the South. This is a knock against the Midwest. I've lived in both. I loved both places. But if I have the opportunity to do the same thing on the West Coast, I'm going to do it.
Okay. No, that's fair.
I think anyone who's not from those areas is going to do it too. I think people, by and large, don't take into account not just regional areas, because it's nice to live next to a beach or to be next to LA, but culturally the difference. You also don't, football in LA is not football in the South. People have a lot of other things to do besides worry about your football team. Here, UT, UK, everyone's tuning in, not just, but with that, you also have the media coverage is going to be a little bit different. LA reporters, LA media, they don't rub shoulders with you. You're not their buddy. They've worked their entire career to get to the point where they can talk to you, and, they're not, love UK, but a lot of the people that cover UK, John's their buddy or Stoops their buddy.
Okay. Gotcha.
We don't do that on the West Coast. It's just different. And for some people, I think that's a huge thing with Saban. He loves the culture that he gets at Alabama, the status he has. I think it's the same with Mike Gundy. He would, there's talks always of him leaving. A lot of people are homegrown. They want to stay where they're at. They're comfortable where they're at. Other people love the culture and the region of Florida or California or wherever else you may go.
All right, making sense. Okay, I see that perspective. Definitely, Anna, Riley is gonna be putting Christmas lights around a palm tree. but
Yeah,
nonetheless, it's still a palm tree. And
Well,
yeah.
speaking of, I just feel like it's
Who's your buddies here? Kentucky media.
yeah. What do you mean by that? I have no idea what you're talking about. I don't even know who the coaches are. I on Lincoln Riley though, I really feel like it's less about like all over culture and more about the Pac-12 sucks right now, and he thinks he has a great chance going in there. And then I think especially it's just coincidental or funny with Oklahoma's upcoming move to the SEC, and you just look how they would have it coming out of there. If you're Lincoln Riley, do you want to win a championship or not? Your path's so much easier at USC, and it's not like it's UCLA where it's basketball historically. USC has been great historically, so it's still got kind of the same culture, the same name brand, and I think he thinks he can dominate out there.
No, those are great points. Okay. Now I'm seeing a whole new perspective. All right, Max. Let's You never said who your buddies were, by the way, Anna, but we can say that later.
Yeah.
Here. Let's look ahead, Max, to the bowl matchup. Citrus Bowl. It's a New Year's Day bowl. It is Coach Stoops' alma mater that laid a goose egg. Well, I guess 3 points keeps it from an official goose egg against Michigan. But what say you about this matchup?
Well, this is obviously going to be an emotional game for Coach Stoops because this is his alma mater. Come to find out, his jersey, he doesn't even have his game jersey from Iowa. His jersey from Iowa is actually in his dad's coffin, and he was his dad was buried with his game jersey. So there's a lot of ties. There's a lot of emotional ties with Iowa, and I think it's a great matchup. I think the game's going to be a whopping 46 minutes. It feels like, because both teams are just going to try to overpower the other in the running game. I feel like, but I think right now Kentucky's opened up as a 2-point favorite. I think UK's got such a level of speed. I think it's going to be very similar to what we saw against Louisville. Maybe not from a points difference because, Louisville's a directional school. But for the way that Iowa's been able to play, they are so focused on meat and potatoes. They are big guys or linebackers or the size of defensive linemen. They're a team with a lot of girth. But the whole difference is Kentucky's got they've got such an advantage on speed of the outside. That ability to use Chris Rodriguez up the middle, but being able to get Cavassier Smoke and McCain involved on East-West game, on outside zone, on pitch, on sweep, and then just getting Wan'Dale Robinson and Josh Ali just to go and just have a field day. And Will Levis is a guy that likes to get hit. He's gonna have a field day on read option as well against Iowa. Iowa does not do well against the read option at all. The only team they did well against the read option is Nebraska. And, well, we all know the story about Nebraska. Martinez, who's been there for 17 years, has finally said, okay, I'm going to get out of here. But I love the matchup. I mean, this is just a true staple for UK. You wanted a name brand. Iowa is a name brand, but they're not the same Iowa as they used to be. This should be a really good game. I did, however, catch myself as a UK fan going, Citrus Bowl again. I thought we'd go somewhere new. I caught myself and I was like, man, gone are the days just be like, man, are we going to Nashville or Memphis again? Ugh. It's a great day. It's not New Year's 6, but
no.
I guess we'll take a New Year's Day bowl.
Yeah. Well, I just realized before the show started that the playoff games are actually on Friday night.
Yep.
So, okay. Anna, your take on the matchup with Iowa?
I think I probably would have been a lot more worried about it previous to their showing against Michigan, because what the hell was that? That was bad. I'm honestly just By the way, which bowl is Arkansas in? Do we know that?
I think they got Outback Bowl.
Okay,
I thought.
I am so surprised that they had Kentucky in the Citrus Bowl ahead of Arkansas because I feel like those two could have gone head to head. And UK has gotten the nod this year on nothing. I mean, look, they were a 3-point underdog to Louisville. So who is picking them? And even just getting just like hated on in the SEC in terms of the rankings. Exactly. Money and Kentucky fans travel and they like the Scoop storyline. So I'm glad that worked out. I think Tampa would have been a little bit more fun, but I will take Orlando. And I think they'll beat Iowa. I'm not concerned. Not after watching the Nation championship game.
2-point favorite. Huh. Okay. Nisi, your take.
I covered a couple Iowa games when I covered Illinois at my first job. And it's funny Max said that because I remember being on the field. And, I mean, when you're at D1, like everyone's – especially when you're 5'4" and, you know – lightweight compared to everything you're seeing, but like I just remember looking at those guys and being like, these are the biggest linemen I've ever seen. And I'm seeing linemen all the time, so I just remember, yeah, they're huge. They're just, I don't know what they're feeding them over there, but you're not gonna win in a power struggle with them. So I completely agree with what Max was saying about the way the advantage you're gonna have on them is if you've got speed and you can use it correctly against them, because head to head it's going to be hard to run against them. It's going to be hard to do a lot. They're just physically, every single time I saw them, they were just huge, all of them, not just linemen, but those are the ones I remember being like, gosh, those are ogres out there. Like
it's the Shrek Bowl.
Okay, so but as a whole, we all feeling kind of good about this one, Max?
Oh, I feel great.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's look at the big game yesterday. Let's talk about before we talk about the playoffs. Is it fair to say, Max, that once Alabama won, then you're for? I mean, I think a lot of people were thinking Michigan was going to win, but once Alabama won, everyone else just kind of went in the rear view.
That's 100% accurate. The worst thing that you can ever do if you're playing against Alabama is give them time. The other bad thing is talk bad about them. Because, again,
like
it's
the media.
Bad rat poison. Well, in words of Nick Saban, that was yummy rat poison.
That was
the
line.
But it proves again, because this is by far one of the worst teams that Nick Saban has had. Now, granted, they've all been in the top 5. This is probably to the level of I would say his 2018, the one that was undefeated, then got shellacked against Florida, and then got shellacked again against Utah in the Sugar Bowl. I would say it's about to that level. But it just shows the coaching staff that he has and his ability to get prepared. And time and time again. And I am willing to bet every dollar in my bank account that week 1 of this season, there was one graduate assistant or one quality control coach or one analyst that their only job week to week was to watch Georgia film. That was it. And they came in with a game plan that this was a team. Remember, the best game Georgia played, the best team that played against Georgia was Kentucky. And Kentucky was only able to get 14 points on them. That is by far one of the best defenses I've ever seen. But Bryce Young picked them apart one by one with ease. And were not able to contain him in the pocket either. And that is all because of defensive coaching, or offensive coaching. And the dude sucked at Houston, but Bill O'Brien coordinated one of the best offensive games I've ever seen Alabama play this year. So it's not when you're able to take a team that's just been so dominant all year long, beating teams. They only had one game that they won by single digits, and it was against Clemson, the first game of the year. and then all of a sudden just get absolutely dismantled, unraveled like that.
They didn't actually score or offensive touchdown that game either.
That game, correct. It was all the only touchdown was a pick six.
Yeah.
Max, I'm curious, what do you think about when people looking at Georgia, they were like trying to call them a fluke now, and they say that, well, Clemson's the best team they played all year. I know Clemson had their struggles. Do you agree with that, or do you think it would be somebody else?
I've never agreed with looking at the season at the end, because I always believe when I say that, I look at the rankings. So when Clemson was ranked number 4, I think at that time number 4 in the country. Mm-hmm. If you're going to that game with that 4 next to your team's name, in your mindset, you truly believe you are the 4th best team in the country. There are games, though. There are truly games that break you as a competitor. So I believe full-heartedly that Clemson was the 4th best team when they played against Georgia. I also look at the buzzsaw that Georgia had to run through. I mean, still, and all you have to look at is just times when the SEC has played out of conference this year, and just look at how the SEC teams that are quote unquote garbage in the SEC still outperforming teams outside, especially the ACC, and looking at still having to play that schedule through and through. And I truly do believe that schedule that Georgia played and able to just dismantle teams week after week. It's one thing to question, like, well, what's the strength of the schedule when you play an all SEC schedule? It's another thing to consistently just dismantle. Where Cincinnati had a couple of close calls. Again, they still won through. They should still be the 4th best team and be in the playoff. But just the amount that Georgia just broke teams. They broke Arkansas, because Arkansas came in that game ranked 8th in the country, and they had dismantled some really good teams. And then Georgia broke them. Kirby Smart was doing what Nick Saban has done all along. I remember playing against Alabama. That's the only game in my entire career that won. I'm nowhere close to the best player in the country. I wasn't even the best player on best offensive lineman amongst the 1st and 2nd string group. Like I'm not that great of an offensive lineman. And Alabama absolutely. First time in my entire life that I've been absolutely manhandled by another man, and there was not one thing I could do about it.
It's a great soundbite, Max.
Yeah, it was really good.
And secondly, the only time I looked at a scoreboard in a game and looked at it, and it was the 4th quarter, 11 minutes left on the clock, and I said, I don't want to play anymore. First time ever in my entire career of playing football for 14 years, where I'm just like, I'm done. I'm done. This is nonsense. On a 4th and inches play, I got a 4-point stance, got so low to where I'm about ready to hit this defensive lineman's shins, and all of a sudden I feel my backside raise up. It's because he had wrapped his arm around my waist and had picked me up and was still able to keep gap integrity. And
that's a definition of manhandled.
Yeah,
you're right.
And John Schlarman, the late John Schlarman, I remember
Did
the
he buy
meetings.
you a drink though after the game?
No, he didn't. Absolutely not. And I remember Schlardog watching that film, and he stopping the film and going, "Are you saying he's that much better than you? Are you saying that he's that much, trying to, insult you a little bit to build you back up, to talk about how good of a player you actually are?" It's the first time ever I said, yeah, he's that much. He's a 5-star. I'm a no star. He's going 1st round in the draft. I'm not. And he just paused. It just looked at me and said, and just went back to the film. It's like, I cannot lie in that situation.
You see, covering sports, when you look at somebody like Alabama, it's always been Saban defense. They're not a defensive school anymore. The fact that they now run an offense where, Bryce Young, is he going to win the Heisman? He's got to be up there, right? Anyways, his numbers are crazy. He's just their offense now, the fact that Saban and what would it really start with Kiffin? Anyway, I don't know. But Nice, when you look at somebody like Alabama now, what is that mentality or that take now from your perspective?
On Alabama as a whole, or Alabama
As a whole.
I'll just say, I'm sure I'm not the only one. It was just nice having a season where we didn't talk about Alabama quite as much. You know what I mean? Like, I'd call me like a hater, whatever. I think a lot of people, I had a friend who's actually Alabama graduate, and he was kind of asking, he was like, why does everyone hate Alabama? Is it because they're so good? Blah, blah. And I was like, I think people are genuinely just bored of seeing the same teams all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same storylines, whether there really is even one. I mean, what's the storyline with Saban? He gets the top recruits. He has the best team. He wins all the games. Rinse, repeat. It's boring, So like I know this doesn't directly correlate to your question about Alabama, but it was nice.
I feel you. No, gotcha.
It was nice to kind of, I mean, they're always going to be in this discussion until they're, not, which maybe that's long after Saban's dead. I don't know. But it was just nice to have some different teams that are just, just to have Cincinnati talked about as much as Cincinnati was talked about. Yeah. I mean, it's like it introduces you to a whole new program, a whole new, coach, a whole new face, storyline, things like that. Like, that is so refreshing to me. That's what I really enjoyed, was hearing less of Alabama. And that's not me hating them. It's just me and my natural desire to hear good stories and follow good storylines.
No, that's a great point. And staying with that storyline, Anna, I mean, ad nauseum, Alabama and Clemson, were shoved down our throats for the last several years. Clemson out of the picture. Beyond, a lot of people were thinking, Georgia wins, which they were favored to win. Then that this was going to be the year, no Clemson in Alabama.
Yeah.
Well, as Max alluded to, or said that the assistant, whatever they did, they figured it out.
Yeah. And just Clemson, I'm happy to not have to hear about. Dabo is hard to handle, but Saban, just as Max was saying, the way he prepares, it is incredible to watch. You can be annoyed that you're still hearing the same things about them year after year, season after season, but just watching him work, and it's almost a new storyline now that they were the underdog now and took down that Georgia team. Who would have thought that Alabama was going to dominate them after Auburn the week before? What? That came out of nowhere. That came out of nowhere.
Was held scoreless for the first time in
couldn't get the ball down the field
for 3 quarters.
Yeah,
they didn't. Yeah, right. They didn't score for 3 quarters.
I was like, they can't do anything. And then Bryce Young comes out that game. I mean, I think how much of a difference would it have made if JT Daniels was in there? I don't think he's the reason that Georgia got, or Stetson Bennett is the reason that Georgia got so far behind. But I think there would have been a different level of confidence. He's a big playmaker if he were in charge of the offense. But I just, I'm a Georgia grad, Kentucky fan, Georgia grad. And I just can't imagine the pain of being at that game as a Georgia fan.
Oh my gosh.
For 40 years, it's been the same thing. And they think it's finally their year. Have the rug pulled out from underneath them. I mean, and Max, you were talking earlier too about those games that just break you. Was that it for Georgia? What are we going to see out of them in the playoff?
Right.
Well, let's go. Nice segue. The playoffs. So we got in the Orange Bowl, Michigan, Georgia. Let me start over there. Alabama, Cincinnati in the first game of the day, the Cotton Bowl at the 3:30. Alabama with that win, got the top spot. Cincinnati 4. What's your take on this matchup?
I think it's going to be Alabama.
They're a 13-point favorite, right? Something like that.
13.5.
Okay.
13.5-point favorite. I think it's going to be closer than that. I honestly do. I think Cincinnati is they've got a Johnny Manziel-esque about them to where they're deceptively quick. And Alabama does not do well with that. They can overpower you. They can outrun you. But when it comes to the ability to run, stop, go sideways, go backwards, then go forward again, Alabama does not do well with that. And so I think that
I've watched Georgia several times. Are you saying Georgia is not as fast as Cincinnati?
No. Cincinnati's not fast. They're quick and agile. They're very much similar to what Texas A&M was with Johnny Manziel. Very similar to that.
Okay.
And I feel like that's going to give Alabama a little bit of a headache, especially if guys are able to break into the secondary. Alabama secondary does not do a good job of rallying and being able to gang tackle. So I think that's going to cause it. I think you take the over on the game, and I think Cincinnati is going to be able to cover it. But I still think Alabama. I think Alabama still wins it. But again, Luke Fickell has shown time and time again that he's able to get these guys mentally prepared for the big stage. I think back at Cincinnati last year when they played against Georgia in the Sugar Bowl, and the ability that he had to take Georgia all the way down to the wire. And I don't want to hear about, Georgia had like 4 or 5 guys that didn't play in that game. It's still Georgia. That still plays a psyche when you see the sticker on the side of the helmet, and being able to play them that well to the last drive of the game. So I think this is a game that Alabama could get deceptively. It could be deceptively close, but I still think Alabama takes it.
Nisi, Cincinnati versus that team you don't want to talk about it anymore, but Alabama. What about you? What do you think?
Alabama has so much experience in the playoffs. I think that plays such a huge role in matchups like those. And while I would love to see it, I would love to see Cincinnati win. 9 times out of 10, it's like when you talk about the Georgia thing, like, yes, it was a surprise, just on where the teams were. But it's like my dad says, you never count LeBron out. You never counted Michael Jordan out. You never count Alabama out. You just never do. It's never, no matter how bad they're looking.
Saban's got 3 weeks to prepare.
Mm-hmm.
Anna, this a lot of people were, thinking this was going to potentially be the year where one of the outside, because Cincinnati's in what conference? They're in they're not a Power 5, correct?
Group of 5.
Yeah. So Cincinnati crashes the party. Does the party end for them that night? Before their New Year's, the only party that they're going to have is at the
right. I think it definitely does. Cincinnati's been interesting though. They got down, or there was close games in the beginning against Tulsa and Tulane, who are just not of the competition. Then, as we were saying earlier, as if you're down early in an SEC game, and even against Houston in the beginning, I was skeptical. Dana Holgerson's a great coach, but what you have with this team is just a willingness to get it done. They always get it done. They always find a way to win. So I think if it gets a little lopsided, I wouldn't, in the beginning, I wouldn't be too unsettled by that. I could see them making it a close game by the end. But again, when you turn that game, that title game, Cincinnati, Houston, over to like Alabama, Georgia, it was like, this isn't even the same. This is high school and college. They just look like different people on the field, different levels. And I know a lot of that, you're dealing with 5-star recruits at Alabama. So I think Alabama definitely takes it. I just hate to see John Mechie. They think he's an ACL and will be out. I'm interested to see what happens there. That would really suck. He's been pretty great the past couple of games.
That's a good point too. So the nightcap, Max, which to me is the main event of the 2 games, Michigan, Georgia. What say you?
This one's hard for me because it depends on what Georgia team we get. Michigan, right? You could make a solid argument that Michigan should have been the number 1 team in the country. And I'm one that has made fun of Jim Harbaugh since he got there. I thought Jim Harbaugh was going to get fired this year. And Kevin, I'm usually not wrong about coaches, but I was dead wrong about Harbaugh this year. And
I think if he would have got beat by Ohio State.
Well, yes, but a dominant. That was a dominant performance. There's a difference between winning it by a fluke.
Yeah.
He dominated Ohio State. and then come in and dominate in that Big Ten game. Again, it was against Iowa, but still to put 42-3. You had guys in there doing mop-up duty in that game. The rule of gambling is you go with the hot hand. And for me, I feel like you've got to go with Michigan in this one. I think Michigan is the hot hand. The scariest thing to go against as a competitor is going against a team that believes. And I think right now, Michigan has no doubt. I think Georgia has some doubt right now.
That's fair. Nisi, Georgia, Michigan.
It's a tough one for me too. I don't know. I'm still not. I'm not giving up on Georgia yet. I think we saw some real, what they've shown us this year makes me think that they could very well come into the playoffs and do some work. I don't know. That's one I'm like, I'm not a good, I'm like someone who whenever the year comes up and it's like predict records, scores, things like that, I've always been awful at it. There's two things I don't do, and that's like close game predictions and fantasy football. I just have never been good at them or interested in them. I'll just say Georgia just because it's just a gut feeling, but I don't really have much explanation other than it's Georgia, and we've seen what they've looked like.
Anna, you know what looks good?
Yeah.
Those nails. Show us those nails.
Oh my God, I need to get them redone.
Hers. Look at her nails. No, Nisi, show your nails.
Oh.
These look awesome. Yeah, I was going to say, these aren't
My
good.
claws.
Heck yeah, girl. Who's your nail girl? Max, yours look
Max,
good.
what about you?
Good.
I'm still doing this, by the way. So,
I'm always doing
Yeah.
that.
always, yeah.
All of my life, I'm doing that.
That is my favorite
Yeah.
Twitter feud because I don't have any dogs in that fight at
Yeah.
all. So just to see back and forth of it is just like I'm a kid in a candy store every year when that pops up on my U of L people I follow and it pops up on my UK people that I follow. Oh, I love it.
It
One
is
of my
such a
favorite things.
sore point with them. And then
It
what was
really is.
Max James Strebel when he left the game, Louisville game.
Oh, he was giving L's downs to little kids.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love Street.
I love it. Let,
Is my spirit animal. I love him.
Let's just hope it never gets to the point where like they, with Texas, like in Big 12, where you couldn't do horns down anymore.
Isn't that a penalty now or something?
Yes.
Mhm.
So like
Right.
the fact
it won't
that
be a penalty in the SEC.
So I just, on behalf of Big 12 fans, please give all the horns down you pay as possible when you guys meet.
Anna, did I ask you about Georgia?
No, you did not.
No.
But here's what I have to say.
Yeah.
I think a lot of what who I think will win depends on the quarterback situation at Georgia. Give me JT Daniels. I was so impressed by him at SEC Media Days, how smart he is. He's the gamer. He believes. He has the will to win. He's a big-time playmaker. Stetson Bennett's great. He's consistent, but I don't think he has, the dynamite in those big-time plays.
Is that because is Stetson starting because he's just Kirby's guy?
I don't think it's anything like that. I think JT has been injured, and Stetson, why fix what's not broken? They were dominating teams.
I mean, that's a good point too.
Consistent, you know what I mean?
12-0, and
But the talent of JT, and it's really in his mind too, I think would make a big difference. But then with Michigan, not just that they believe, but they're peaking at the right time. This team started the season unranked. So that's pretty incredible to me.
Oh, I didn't. I forgot.
I
You're
think
right.
it's the first team to ever make the playoff that started unranked. And say what you will, I don't know if you believe in momentum or not, but the pendulum's definitely swinging towards Michigan. That's a tough one for me. I wouldn't count Georgia out for sure, but I don't know. There's a lot of doubt. There's a lot of questions after that SEC championship game, and I think they've got to get it figured out at quarterback.
Two different dynamic of games, Max, to me. I think the Alabama-Cincinnati game potentially could be a shootout. But then, now thinking about the way Michigan's been or both teams been playing, that could be a scoring game too. Michigan.
Traditionally, though, this year, Michigan and Georgia are both ground and pound. They're going to both go run first, and then that's a game that could go 2 hours if both teams stick with the run game. And that's the difference. And that's a weird dynamic as well, because Nick Saban, that was Nick Saban's mentality until he brought in Lane Kiffin. And he specifically brought in Lane Kiffin to revitalize his offense. He hates the spread. He hates hurry up, and he hates Lane Kiffin, but he brought in all three to be, call a spade a spade. And at that point, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And so he brought in all three because Nick Saban knew his style and his philosophy was costing him games, and he had to change it. But yet Jim Harbaugh's the one guy that stuck through with this power game. Same thing with Kirby Smart to an extent. Now, Kirby Smart's a little bit more balanced, I think, than Jim Harbaugh is. But it also shows of how the pendulum swings in college football. The pro-style offense, the run-first mentality, has been a staple for 152 years in college football. The spread and the flashiness of a hurry-up offense.
How many years?
152 years of a run-first pro-style mentality. Second to the triple option. Triple option's been around for 152 years in college football, 147 years of the triple option.
Oh.
Those are my two favorite offenses.
Okay. Very good.
He's done some digging.
Yeah. Well, here's a former UK player in regards to Georgia's quarterback. Georgia's QB only played good against Kentucky.
I love A-Dot, man. I love him.
Well, Max, so this is a reminder, and I'm gonna keep reminding you up until December 28th to watch the game and set your DVR so you can watch the replay over and over. Air Force v. Louisville. So there you go.
Oh, are you serious?
That is Air Force Louisville. Yeah.
Well, Air Force
responder ball.
That is very fitting for a team that's on life support.
That whole program. I mean, good. Tyra, he's
right
talking
now.
Please say Tyra's a topic tonight.
We can quick. Let's go. Let's talk about that dumpster fire that's here in my city.
No, it's not a dumpster fire. It's not a dumpster fire. This here is
I
what
think for their fans. No, for their fans. A lot of their fans are.
Twitter's a dumpster. Twitter is a dumpster fire.
Yes.
For Louisville fans, this is what I believe in politics when it comes to world politics is considered a coup. Where we have planted a UK alum as the athletic director of the rival school, and Louisville fans and Louisville faculty and the Louisville president was stupid enough to bring him on, and he single-handedly ruined every aspect of Louisville athletics and then jumped ship. That is a staple of what a coup is. It's huh?
Kentucky, UK needs to build a statue of Tyree because we are thankful.
Vince Tyree needs a medal from UK from Eli Capilouto is what he needs. That is by far alumnus of the year. I will donate 3 of my paychecks from my current employer towards the Vince Tyree Foundation as the number one alumnus. Bravo.
Let's do
Bravo.
Well, isn't there like some Anna? Isn't there some meeting or something going on with the Louisville media in regards to U of L tomorrow? Do you know?
Well, I was not invited to that because my show is called BB.
Well, I know. I just didn't know if any of your buddies or maybe I can reach out to Kendrick Nisi for that scoop.
My boy Kendrick.
Yeah, Kendrick guys. All right, where were we at? Let's get a few more minutes. Let me go to. I'm going to talk. I have to bring it up, Max. UK men's hoops. I'll just start with Anna. Anna, what's been your take so far with the team? And Cal's complaining about the lack of fan support.
The fans are obsessed with this team, and for good reason. How can you not love Oscar Shibwe? He's awesome.
Well, not all the fans, because there hasn't been a sellout. People are complaining about that schedule.
Well, you know what? It's because in
The home
basketball,
schedule. Yeah.
they play all of the big ass games at the beginning at neutral sites. So
And still,
boo-hoo.
yeah.
Like, go to that game. That's fun. That's an opportunity. Everyone's doing the same thing right now in college basketball.
That's right.
It's not like UK is an outlier by scheduling like Mount St. Mary's, etc. But they've been good. They communicate well.
I like this team.
Offensively, I was excited the first couple games because I saw them moving without the ball a lot. It just seemed like a different offense. And then that kind of went away, I'd say around second, third game of the season. So we'll see if that sustains. But I love Xavier Wheeler. Kellen Grady's awesome. A lot of great experience on this team. But we're see.
One of the oldest teams in college.
It's the oldest Calipari has had,
yeah.
for sure. Yeah. And I still think they need more presence in the post. You got Shibwe, who's great, but half the time, Cal tells him to post up, face the basket. Half the time he's telling him to post up. If they could have gotten that Kofi Coburn, that would have been amazing. They always need more strong presence at the post because Lance Ware's your only other guy down there, and you can't really depend on him. So I think they'll be good. It was interesting to me after the Duke game, and Paolo Banchero is awesome. But a few of their players haven't been as good the following games, and I just thought it was an interesting take from Kentucky fans. After that game, it was one you don't usually get. They were like, oh, okay, good. We hung in there with Duke. And I was like, what do you mean you hung in there? Duke's all freshmen too. It's a whole new Duke team. It's not like they were national champions last year. I'm like, why are you excited to hang in with – that doesn't mean anything. That means they're better than you. So I thought that was strange. But – we'll see. Duke fell to Ohio State. I'm excited to see Ohio State and Kentucky play because Ohio State has lost, and then they beat Duke and their coaches at Lexington guys. So I'll be interested to see how this team develops, hopefully offensively, and as the season goes on. I'm excited to see how much more comfortable Damian Collins gets as well.
Well, when is Davion coming back? D Mintz is my guy. This is A. Dot still. What's the story with Mintz? First of all, did he do himself a favor by coming back this season?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
He's not getting any good sniffs. He can say that he was not. That's why he came back. Plus, it's not hurting him, the NIL stuff. Why not come back? And
I forgot about that part. Yeah.
But I think he's sick. Cal said something really interesting. Like, a couple of people got strep throat. Maybe one has mono, and we're like, mono? That's not like a cold. Like, that's a month and a half out. So I guess they've just been, I don't know, somebody needs to check in on them at Wildcat Lodge, see what's going on.
Are you finally comfortable, Nikki? What is going on with you?
Oh,
you took the long way to get back to your bedroom. What is this about?
I had to go downstairs because my computer was dying, and it's actually I had the wrong charger, and I think I lost it on my plane ride home from Oregon, honestly.
Oh.
So
Go home for Thanksgiving?
I did.
Well, good for you. Well, not good for you that you lost your charger.
Yes. So I just was like, I don't want to lose whatever Anna's saying. So I was trying to scramble, and then I was like, I'll just use my phone. So
that, or you can watch the replay.
Yes.
On the outside looking in, Nisi, what's last year Kentucky, historically bad season, but what's been your take with the hoops team so far this year?
I'm gonna be honest with you, Kevin.
It doesn't matter whatever you say is going to still be more than what Max will say. So go ahead and say.
I haven't watched a lot of college hoops because this was such an exciting season for Oklahoma State.
You had an opportunity to fake this.
I know, but I'm not going to because
You're not a fan.
I'm going to say something that someone's going to go, "What is she talking about?" So now I have not watched any Kentucky basketball, and today I watched a little bit of Kansas State and Wichita State, and that's where I'm at with college football at the moment. I am such a football person
Yeah.
that it takes me a while to jump onto the college basketball ship.
Kansas
When
State,
I'm
Amen.
just
Wichita
purely a
State.
fan.
Ugh.
Say what?
Kansas State, Wichita State.
It was on at the restaurant. I don't.
Oh, okay. Oh, by default. Then. Okay.
What's your choice?
I've
Go ahead, Max.
I do have
You're-
something to add.
Do you?
This is a very outsider opinion because Calipari talks about the being disappointed in the fan turnout.
Yeah, Nana,
I'll say
you
for the
totally
game-
just blew me off when I made that comment, by the way.
It's the same thing every year.
So clearly, it's her buddy at UK is.
Oh
Cal.
my God,
But-
please.
All right, Max, your take. Pass.
No, and my wife and I are. I'm a casual fan. My wife is let's go and just have a good time kind of person, and we had tickets from work, and we had gone. She had never gone to a UK basketball game before, and we went to a game, and we sat down, and you had to get the ice cream. And I feel like the only go-to factor when it comes to Rupp Arena and the number one attraction is the ice cream. And that's a major flaw. It is. The overall ambiance experience, and we did sit in the blue hair section. I'm sorry. But I mean it's a drag. It's a drag of an event. It's you go to watch basketball, but there's no kind of fan interaction, fan experience. It's gotten better over the past
How long has it been?
couple of
I
years.
actually do have something to add on this.
What was that?
I'm thinking like
2019.
yeah.
Okay.
So like with now
It was a
all this stuff you can watch from home. You don't have to pay for it. They make it so much more
Yeah.
available. It's like, why then would you spend the money? You can watch for free at home.
Whose idea was it to put college basketball on Friday nights too? Seriously.
Yeah.
I mean,
Let's talk
That's a
about
big
the
thing also.
parking situation. Because that's my number one complaint. I hate parking
Still.
there.
Yes, it's horrible.
But it's the same thing with, and I think that's the difference between football media or football marketing and basketball marketing. Because Kentucky football changed their I mean, the way Kroger Field was this year compared to 2019 or 2018 when UK was winning, it's a night and day difference. I mean, it's a true night and day difference of just how electrifying that stadium is. And it's hard to find a pulse at Rupp Arena. I haven't been to a game this year because I've turned the tickets down because my wife looked at me probably about 15 minutes into the 5 minutes left into the half. She said, okay, I'm ready to go home. Like, this isn't fun. But the bad thing was I couldn't disagree with her. And
what
she
game-
got
do
her
you remember
status. She was able to
who
say
they
she
played that night.
Mississippi State. I know for a fact.
Okay.
And so it wasn't some scrub team, but it was just like, I'm done. This was fine. This was fine. And I think for the overall experience, for what you pay for those tickets, for what you pay for them, and what I pay for at the UK football games, I get much more out of my money going to the football games. And not just because I'm a football guy over a basketball guy, but I get much more entertainment and much more electricity and environment from those games than I do at Rupp Arena. I don't know how you fix it. I'm not claiming I know how to fix it. I'm just saying from an outsider's perspective, that's how I feel
They
as a
also have
casual
this thing,
fan.
like with the suites, where some of the really great seats, they can go up to these suites and just hang out in there. And I'm like, well, then why are you giving it to people who have seats? They're not going to be in the seats. It's going to look empty if they're going to be up in the suite. It's very strange how they're doing it. And I forgot where it was. Texas Tech, maybe. I can't remember who's there now, the coach, but he had like a students only game where all the student body can watch. I don't think you could do that at Rupp Arena because it's too big. I think their place seated like 5,000 or something. But I think it's everywhere, but especially at a place at Rupp Arena, you notice it more because it's never been like that. And I think they are struggling just with the arena as a whole. It needs to be updated, and what they're doing with the suites is not helping anybody.
They need to move the eruption zone. They need to do what Duke does, honestly.
Oh, yeah.
But again, that's going to piss
That
off some
ain't gonna happen.
blue
Yeah.
hairs like no other.
Yeah.
Well, here's my thing.
These sheets for 35 years. I ain't going to move.
Yeah. As a basketball fan, I'm watching because I'm not going to these pre SEC games. There's a lot of empty seats, and to me that is kind of alarming. And I
Are you looking at Gary Tipton's Twitter account because he always tweets it out, and it's always like 25 minutes before game time.
Yeah,
but at game time, there's still a lot, and that to me that has a lot to do with a Friday night game and the opponent. So, but I know every year we're always a young team. This year, it's not a young team; it's a totally new team. So I get what Cal's doing, but I do think it's not the go-to. On a Friday night for a lot of people. I'm flipping channels when a game's on. So, all right. Even though Cal's your buddy, I know you're gonna stay true and blue. Take a lap. Take a lap around that runway at a football field, Max.
Take a lap around that empty Rupp Arena floor.
All right, let's round third and head for home. Final shots. This is where you get to just shoot whatever you want to talk about. Anything, sport, non-sport. Nisi, judging by your hand here, okay, we're gonna let you say it.
No,
Get this over with.
This is me listening. When I have my head on a hand or whatever, I really am listening. This is gonna be mildly corny, but the other day
you haven't heard Max's take yet, but go ahead.
Oh, okay. It is so nice. I was thinking the other day I was so mad because I couldn't watch something that one game that I wanted to watch because I'm not someone who can do multiple screens. I've got to watch one game and flip back and forth, whatever. And I was like, like almost feels like a dream, but it was so traumatizing that it couldn't be. But like there was not that long ago that we were all like, what are we gonna do about sports? Like, and it's just like it is such a nice problem to have now.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Of like you really don't know how normal it feels to be watching sports and participating in them until you're literally like, where did they go? So every time I see someone just crying about their team or your team losing a championship by inches, I just think it is a good problem to have. So I am very, very grateful to have sports back.
Do you prefer college sports over pro, Nisi?
I would say I'm more invested. Myself personally, I'm more invested in my college team than my pro teams. Yeah. Here's a word of advice too: if I ever catch you saying Okie State, you will be beheaded. Your body will be taken.
Did we say that tonight? I don't know if we did, but
no.
Now we know.
I'm
beheaded.
You do not ever.
You're going to make me famous on a video on YouTube? Is that what you're saying?
No,
I'm going to go
saying,
viral.
Word to any and all people not from Oklahoma or who do not know
Okie State.
Ever Okie State.
Got it. Noted. Well, speaking of that real quick, I got to say this. There was recently Kentucky, they've always been on like ESPN, the basketball, SEC network. I had to actually, I don't watch the ESPN app, ESPN Plus. I've got it. I've never used it. I actually have like on my Fire Stick. I actually had to sign in and watch a Kentucky game. That's the
That's
first
why
time I
they
can
make you do
remember.
it. So you'll like sign in to stream it, and you'll get like a membership subscription thing to it. They did one for football too.
Mm.
Maybe against Chattanooga it was, but it's
Does
all
it?
a ploy to like.
It was
You're
Chattanooga.
right. It was. Yeah, I probably had to
get you
do the same
sign
thing
up for
then
that
too, and I
shit.
just forget. Yeah. So, all right, Anna, final shot from you.
It's nothing that good. I just came up with it roughly 30 seconds ago, but I haven't think about it all week. How interesting the disparity in like these head coaches leaving for big name schools. Now, no, Max, you mentioned that John Calipari, he's one who kind of had his brain and it traveled with him before, and I agree. And then when he got hired here, he's kind of like, okay, I'm at a blue chip, blue blood school. I'm sticking here. And it's just so different, I think, in basketball, unless you get fired, that once you hit one of those premier programs, you just kind of stick around. And I know Roy will different because he was at Kansas and then he went to UNC, but he's from North Carolina. But I think it's never made me think as hard as how different the business model is between football and basketball. I mean, there's so much more into it. Going into the decision making, I think, and so much more to bargain for with your contract in football than with basketball.
I like it. Before I go to Max, Nisha, I got to ask you, since you're in the state of Tennessee, what's been the vibe when it comes to Penny and Memphis losing these games that they have recently, and not doing well with all these 5-star kids? I mean, what is there what?
I'm in Knoxville.
No, I know, but I said Tennessee. I said Tennessee. Memphis is still in Tennessee, right?
It's 5 hours away.
No, that's not what I said. Memphis is still in Tennessee, right?
In Tennessee, I don't know of any Memphis fans, is what I'm telling you. I don't know.
Right.
So I couldn't even get a pulse because the body isn't there.
Wow, fair enough. Well, that's becoming a hilarious show because Memphis fans have been beating their chests about how they're kind of taking over the
You didn't
recruiting
win
wars.
the off season, Memphis. That's the only thing you thought you won.
They still got FedEx, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Max, final shot from you.
I so wanted to do it about the whole Miami situation with Manny Diaz and Mario Cristobal,
Did
but
they hire before firing? They still do.
well, Mario Cristobal has until Monday to accept the job, and then if he doesn't take the job, Manny will still be the head coach. If he doesn't,
amazing.
Or if he does, then Manny's fired at that point. But
so the current head coach has time to arrange something somehow, some way, maybe to the extreme where Nisi said, if you call, Oklahoma State, Okie State, you can do something to that extreme and take
100%. Yes, you could. Yeah. Yes, you could. But my final shot is based off of some news today. Even though I didn't agree with him 100% on everything that he said, was the passing of Bob Dole at 98, longtime senator out of Kansas, and turned into almost a pop icon and part of the greatest generation that ever lived. And I would argue that he was the greatest of the greatest generation, from a man that was basically pronounced legally dead during World War II, and the life that he lived through and through. The war had left where I believe he was hit by a mortar or grenade, one of the two, but was basically left for dead. Took a year and a half for him to fully recover after World War II. And while serving as a senator, he had no use of his right hand. And to make sure that no one ever felt awkward talking to him, would be the first person to initiate the handshake with his left hand. That way there wasn't that ounce of inconvenience for the other person. And that is such a subtle thing.
I heard that story. Oh.
It's such a subtle thing about him. And my wife worked in politics for years. And when you do shake his hand, that is 100% true, because he would he would reach out for your hand first with his left hand, just so you weren't inconvenienced. And for someone like that small little act of selflessness of I don't want someone to feel awkward in this conversation. And the way that the life that he lived at 98 at 98 he had stage 4 lung and liver cancer and was still out doing events during a pandemic, also still going out doing events, still going out talking, still going out and meeting people, especially in Kansas. A man that had a heart, what Nisi was kind of saying, someone that's in the Midwest, someone that was in the Midwest. That dude was Midwest through and through, and just stayed to help the people in Kansas in every way, shape, or form after he was done in politics. He was definitely a giant in the political world, but he was also a giant in kind of the pop culture world as well, and a life very well lived.
I love that. I like that. I know that now.
Yeah. History 101 here. That's good stuff.
I'm filled with other things besides football and Star Wars. Occasionally,
Yeah. What's Nisi? I gotta ask. I keep seeing something like come into the picture. Is that like a cat or something? What am I seeing?
It's probably my finger, but if you do want to see the world's cutest dog,
Oh my gosh!
for real.
that's not a cat.
Oh, it's not a cat. Oh,
What's his name, Anise?
Her name's Rue.
Oh, it's a girl, Rue. Yeah, I remember. Oh,
Aw.
she's so cute.
She's 8 months. She's training to be my
Oh,
service
dude.
dog. She's halfway through training. Go.
really? Service? I gotta know more
Yeah.
about that. Okay.
Psychiatric service dog. So she's
Oh,
she's the biggest blessing I've ever had in my entire life. Besides, my
that's how
parents.
you end a show with that. So cool. So cool.
I'm not trying to one up you, Max, but this is the love of my life.
No, that one wins. That one definitely wins.
Anise, I love how outspoken you are on Twitter about a psychiatric service dog. I've learned so
Yeah.
much through you posting about it. Keep doing it, sister. I love it.
Well,
Thank
and
you.
Nisa, you put stuff out there, from your personal adventures. I guess you could say not adventure. That's not the right word, but you know what I'm saying. So kudos to you.
Thank
you have
you.
a friend here and support.
Thank
So good to
With
see you.
multiple friends here.
Oh, so yeah, definitely.
I have this polar bear.
Anna, you got your thing on BBN. That's a regular thing. Give me the
Yeah.
lowdown here.
It is Monday through Friday at 7:30 p.m. On LEX 18. And just join for a good time.
She's killing
this
it. I
out
love
for a good
I can't
time.
watch
Look at
it
this.
live.
This is where you know you're doing something right when Ball Steak, Tennessee fan going undercover. What Kentucky fans? Kudos to you. Thanks for hanging out with us. That was good. Yeah, Tennessee. All right, Anna, Anise, Nisi, Max. Good to see you guys. Thanks for hanging out with us. Been Round of Shots. You can find the podcast on all the podcast platforms at Round of Shots. Everyone, have a good night. Go Cats. Peace out. See you.